The recruitment chamber was designed to intimidate. Everything gleamed with sterile perfection: walls of silver alloy, a floor polished so smooth it reflected the faint glow of the ceiling lights, and a dais at the far end where the alien examiner sat like a judge in some ancient trial. Ethan Vera stood alone in the center. His boots echoed faintly when he shifted his weight, the sound almost swallowed by the size of the room. He knew this was deliberate, make the applicant feel small, insignificant. He had felt worse. The examiner, a towering insectoid named Zerath Kai, adjusted a crystalline tablet in his claws and looked up. Multiple eyes blinked in sequence. His voice, amplified by the chamber's acoustics, had the dry rasp of sand dragged across stone. Species: human. Colony origin: Sol 3 Earth. Status: probationary entry. Evaluation required. Begin. Ethan offered a polite nod. Morning to you too. Zerath Kai's mandibles clicked once, a sound Ethan decided wasn't approval. The alien tilted his head. Human. Your records indicate no remarkable trait. You are shorter-lived than most species, weaker than many, fragile to extremes. What are your special skills that qualify you for the Galactic Defense Corps? Ethan smiled without warmth. His hands rested loosely behind his back, posture casual in deliberate defiance of the examiner's towering presence. Special skills. He let the question hang before answering. Existing. The chamber went still. A few alien observers seated along the side benches exchanged glances, some chittering softly. Zerath Kai blinked, slow and deliberate. Existing, he repeated. This is your answer? Ethan shrugged. It's the only one that matters. Zerath Kai leaned forward, mandibles tightening. Explain. Ethan's voice stayed even, but his words carried the weight of memory. You want to know what makes humans special? We exist. We're not supposed to. Our planet has tried to kill us in every way imaginable. Ice ages, plagues, wars, storms, starvation, you name it, Earth threw it at us. And we're still here. Barely, sometimes, but here all the same. He leaned in slightly, meeting the alien's compound eyes. Existing is our skill. And we're very good at it. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then the alien let out a low chitter, like a blade scraping glass. A quaint philosophy. But words are wind. Proof is required. Ethan gave a half-smile. Knew you'd say that. Zerath Kai tapped the crystalline tablet. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a doorway rimmed in pale blue light. You will undergo a preliminary assessment. Environment, endurance, adaptability. Fail, and your species' petition for entry into the Corps will be denied. Permanently. Ethan exhaled through his nose. He had expected this. They weren't going to just let a human waltz in with clever lines and scarred hand. Still, the stakes twisted like a knife in his gut. This wasn't only about him. If he failed, the door slammed shut for all of humanity. No protection. No alliances. Just Earth, alone in a galaxy that barely tolerated their presence. He glanced at the open doorway. What happens if I succeed? Then your species will be reconsidered. Zerath Kai's mandibles twitched, a gesture Ethan suspected was the alien equivalent of disdain. Reconsidered. Not accepted. You are unproven, the alien replied. One demonstration will not erase the doubts of centuries. Ethan allowed himself a smirk. One demonstration is all I need. From the benches, a soft ripple of whispers spread among the alien observers. A reptilian delegate hissed, arrogant mammal. A feathered being tilted its head, whispering in a musical tone, or desperate. Ethan ignored them. He walked toward the glowing doorway, boots striking with deliberate steadiness. At the threshold, he paused and looked back at Zerath Kai. You asked what makes us special. Watch closely. You'll see. Zerath Kai's voice followed him like a verdict. We will see whether your existing amounts to survival or extinction. The corridor beyond was dim, its walls lined with faintly glowing panels that pulsed as if alive. Ethan's breathing slowed. Years as a combat medic during Earth's climate wars had taught him how to control fear, feel it but not let it dictate. He rubbed the scar that ran across his forearm, a pale reminder of shrapnel that had once nearly taken the arm off entirely. Existing had been a close thing more than once. As he walked, he caught faint vibrations through the floor, like machinery preparing. Tests. Trials. None of this surprised him. The aliens would want proof that humans weren't fragile curiosities. He intended to give it. A voice crackled from unseen speakers, Zerath Kai's rasp filling the hall. Your first trial begins shortly. Conditions: heat exposure, resource deprivation, confined duration. Objective: endure. Ethan chuckled softly. Heat exposure, huh? Guess you've never spent a summer in what used to be Arizona. The walls opened, and he stepped into a chamber that glowed with searing light. Heat slammed into him instantly, dragging sweat to the surface of his skin. The floor radiated like sunbaked stone. He squinted against the brightness and took a steadying breath. This was only the beginning. He set his stance, rolled his shoulders, and muttered under his breath, existing. Let's show them how it's done. Back in the observation chamber, the alien delegates leaned forward as the human disappeared into the trial. Some sneered, some watched with clinical detachment. Zerath Kai's mandibles clicked softly. He wasn't convinced. Not yet. But something in the human's eyes, scarred but steady, made him uneasy. He had seen countless species falter under these tests. He expected the same outcome. Yet the words lingered in his mind like a thorn. Existing. The air inside the chamber shimmered like molten glass. Heat pressed against Ethan's skin with suffocating weight, crawling into his lungs, making every breath feel like inhaling fire. His vision wavered as sweat instantly poured down his temples. The floor radiated heat through his boots, burning the soles of his feet. Above, unseen vents blasted currents of searing air that rattled his eardrums. The room was a furnace, designed to break, designed to remind him of fragility. Ethan squinted against the glare, muttering, "Guess you people skipped air conditioning in the future." His voice was steady, but his body screamed. Skin flushed, heart hammering, muscles threatening to seize. Instinct told him to panic, to fight for cool air. He ignored it. Panic killed faster than heat. In the observation chamber, alien eyes followed his every move. A reptilian delegate hissed, "His tissues will fail." Soft mammal flesh. Another voice, melodic and curious, countered, "He adjusts posture, notice? He lowers his arms, reduces exposed surface." Zerath Kai leaned forward, mandibles twitching faintly. Adaptation through instinct. Primitive. We shall see how long it buys him. Ethan dropped to one knee, resting his palms on the scorched floor. Pain stabbed up his arms, but he needed information. Heat radiated strongest near the center, less intense toward the corners. The chamber wasn't uniform. Deliberate? Or a flaw? He crawled, ignoring burns searing into his hands. At the wall, he pressed against the alloy surface. Cooler. Not by much, but enough. He leaned his back against it, drawing slow, controlled breath. "Always find shade," he murmured. A memory flickered. Him and his unit crossing the cracked desert near what was once Nevada, soldiers collapsing from heatstroke. Shade had saved him then. It would save him now. Minutes bled together. Sweat drenched his clothes, leaving streaks of salt on his skin. Thirst gnawed, tongue heavy. He shut his eyes briefly, listening. The vent's rhythm changed subtly, shorter bursts, longer intervals. He smiled faintly. Systems stressed too. Machines hated heat almost as much as men. The voice of Zerath Kai slithered through hidden speakers. Your heart rate accelerates. Hydration critical. Failure imminent. Ethan tilted his head toward the ceiling, lips cracked but voice defiant. Funny thing about imminent failure. Been hearing that my whole life. An hour passed. The alien observers fidgeted, whispering. No species had lasted this long in the chamber without augmentation. Zerath Kai's mandibles twitched in annoyance. He cannot endure much longer, one insectoid official insisted. Yet Ethan still stood, leaning against the wall, skin blistered, but eyes alive. Ethan forced his body upright, every movement a negotiation with pain. He walked to the chamber's center again. Each step scorched, but he moved deliberately, as if daring the room to break him. He looked straight into the embedded lenses he knew were watching. "You think this proves I'm fragile?" His voice rasped but carried steel. "This isn't even new. My species grew up fighting the sun. We farmed deserts, marched across continents without water. You think heat will finish us? We've buried worse and kept walking." The observers fell silent. Zerath Kai tapped a claw on his tablet, irritation hidden under composure. "Enough. Advance Phase 2. The vents ceased. For a moment, silence and oppressive heat lingered. Then the chamber shifted, walls sliding apart to reveal a second space beyond, shrouded in shadow. Ethan staggered forward, throat raw, body trembling, but eyes fixed. "Round 2 already? Don't even let a guy grab a drink." The new chamber lit up with pale light. The ground was jagged rock, sharp edges jutting upward. Pools of some viscous fluid bubbled, releasing fumes that burned his nostrils. It smelled like acid rain. A calm voice from above. "Trial, corrosive exposure. Endure." He crouched, ripping a strip of cloth from his sleeve. He pressed it across his nose and mouth, a crude filter. Improvised, instinctive. He moved carefully between rocks, avoiding the bubbling pools, though the fumes already stung his lungs. "Corrosives now," he muttered. "You people really know how to show hospitality." His boots began to sizzle faintly where droplets landed. He hissed, shifted weight, and hopped onto a higher rock formation. Stay above the fumes. Higher ground, always better. Memories surged again. Flooded trenches during Earth's storms, water laced with industrial toxins, comrades coughing blood. He had walked through that too. Survival wasn't strength. It was stubborn refusal. From the gallery, the feathered delegate tilted its head, voice sharp with surprise. He improvises tools without preparation. Zerath Kai's tone cut like frost. Crude measures. Temporary only. Yet even he felt the unease rising. This human bled, burned, and blistered, but he kept moving. No hesitation. No collapse. Existing. Hours blurred. Ethan's body shook violently, but he refused to stop. He stayed above the fumes, pacing, forcing himself to breathe shallow. Pain clawed through him, but he smiled faintly, teeth gritted. "Come on. I've lived through worse bar fights." Finally, a deep tone rang out. The chamber lights dimmed. Vents pulled away the fumes. The trial ended. The door at the far end slid open, revealing a corridor lit in cool blue. Ethan stumbled forward, nearly falling, but caught himself. His hands trembled, skin raw, but his grin was feral. He glanced at the nearest lens. Still existing. In the observation chamber, silence reigned. Delegates who had mocked now whispered with unease. Zerath Kai's claws tapped his tablet, slower this time. He did not want to admit it, but the truth was undeniable. The human had endured trials meant to break the unbreakable. And somehow, through sheer stubborn will, he had done it with defiance. Mandibles clicked in irritation, but his words betrayed a shadow of respect. "Advance him to the final phase." Ethan leaned heavily against the corridor wall, body broken but spirit intact. The heat still lingered in his veins, the sting of fumes burned in his lungs. Yet his grin stayed. One more trial. One more chance to prove them wrong. He whispered to himself, voice ragged but certain. Existing's only the start. Now it's time to show them living. And he pushed forward into the dark. The chamber where Arin had been left after his bizarre interview resembled neither a prison cell nor a waiting lounge. Its walls shimmered faintly, as though light had been captured and woven into threads of metal. A single panel in the center pulsed with amber light. He had barely sat down when the panel emitted a clear tone. "Candidate," the AI's voice announced, resonant and calm. "You are to undergo the aptitude verification trial." Arin frowned. "Another test. Figures. Didn't the recruiter say I already passed?" "Preliminary clearance only," the AI clarified. "Survival capability must be demonstrated. Proceed." The floor beneath him shifted, and before Arin could rise, the chamber dissolved around him. The light, the walls, even the floor gave way to something raw and biting. His boots sank into frozen grit. His breath formed icy plumes. The air stung his skin. He was standing on a barren ice plain under a sky so pale it seemed bleached. Wind howled, carrying shards of frost like needles. Arin pulled his jacket tighter. "Figures. Alien job interview? They drop you in Antarctica without so much as a coat upgrade." But the cold wasn't the problem. He spotted movement ahead, towering figures with jagged, crystalline bodies, marching in formation. Their limbs cracked with the sound of breaking glaciers. The sight alone radiated menace. "Candidate," the AI spoke again, voice now echoing across the frozen world. "You must endure 10 standard minutes on this world. Survival is success. Failure is termination." Arin cursed under his breath. 10 minutes against ice giants with nothing but my fists? They can't be serious. The crystalline beings halted. Then, as if obeying some signal, they turned and advanced. Arin's heart pounded, but his mind sharpened. He remembered camping trips with his uncle, lessons about snow caves, makeshift igloos, survival hacks when the cold itself wanted you dead. "I don't need to beat them. I just need to survive." Scanning the plain, he spotted a drift where the wind had piled snow against a jagged rock outcropping. His body moved before his doubts caught up. He sprinted, boots crunching, the crystalline giants shifting course toward him. At the drift, Arin dropped to his knees and clawed into the snow. His fingers burned, but he carved furiously, digging inward, shaping a hollow. Wind howled behind him. The giant's footsteps cracked like thunder. He tunneled deeper, packing snow into a dome over his head, shaping blocks with sheer instinct. He didn't have tools, didn't have time, but memory served. Compact, carve, fit, repeat. Breath misted around his face. Minutes dragged like hours. Every sound outside seemed closer, the grinding footsteps, the hiss of frost cutting through air. Arin's arms screamed with effort, but his focus locked. This is it. This is the only shot. When the final block slid into place, sealing his crude igloo, Arin collapsed inside, chest heaving. It was dim, cramped, but already the howl of the wind dulled. The walls glowed faintly, snow catching what little light seeped through. Then, silence. A shadow fell over the igloo. Crystalline claws scraped the outside. For a breath, Arin thought it was over. But the claws didn't pierce. The giants lingered, shifting, then drifted back, as if losing interest. Inside, Arin grinned despite his frozen lips. Not bad for 10 minutes of panic construction. The igloo held. Warmth, however relative, built slowly as his own body heat reflected off the walls. For the first time since landing, Arin allowed his pulse to settle. He chuckled to himself. Survived by existing. Guess that's what I do best. The AI's voice returned, softer now. Candidate has demonstrated survival innovation. Test concluded. The igloo dissolved, not into collapse but into fading light. The frozen plain melted away like frost under sun. Arin stood again inside the shimmering chamber. His knees ached, his fingers tingled, but he was alive. In front of him, the recruiter appeared, an insectoid being with carapace plates etched in silver lines, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Its multifaceted eyes regarded him with a strange mix of amusement and respect. Human, the recruiter said, voice layered with tones. When asked for your skill, you answered, existing. Crude. But accurate. Arin raised a brow. You threw me into an ice hell with monsters. I built a snow hut. If that's not existing, I don't know what is. The recruiter tilted its head. Many species falter when stripped of weapons and tools. You endured with nothing but memory and improvisation. You understand survival not as combat, but adaptation. Yeah, well, Arin said, brushing frost from his sleeves, humanity's been making do with less since forever. It's kind of our thing. The recruiter leaned closer, mandibles flexing. Then perhaps you are what we seek. The Council of Recruiters will decide. But I will note, you intrigue me. For the first time, Arin allowed himself to smile. Beneath the exhaustion and frostbite, he felt something else, a flicker of pride. He hadn't just survived. He had proven something that no weapon or polished resume ever could. Hours later, though time in the chamber was meaningless, Arin sat once again before the recruiter's podium. The chamber brimmed with other alien figures, each distinct in form yet united in scrutiny. One, tall and cloaked in a membrane of shifting colors, addressed him. Human. Many applicants boast strength, intellect, even mastery of war. You boast only survival. Why should we admit you into our ranks? Arin met the alien's gaze. His voice was steady, carrying no embellishment. Because surviving isn't glamorous. It's not dramatic. But when everything else fails, when tools break, plans crumble, enemies overwhelm, it's what keeps you alive. Humanity survives. That's what we bring. A murmur rippled through the chamber. The recruiter's mandibles clicked again, almost approvingly. Recorded, the AI intoned. Candidate Arin qualifies. The chamber flared with light. Arin felt weightless, as though stepping from one life into another. He whispered to himself, all that, just for saying I exist. But deep down, he knew, this was only the beginning.